I see several questions here, including one from Bruce Bignell about Arizona and what's going on. Will it flip back to Kari? Like, you just addressed that, and you did a video on that today. So do you want to talk any more about that?
Yeah. So, so now we have the receipts that Kari Lake is part of this. Katie Hobbs. I'm getting so old now. I think at post 6 o'clock at night or something, Katie Hobbs and Kari Lake, for some strange reason, both become the same name. It's very odd. Kari and Katie. It's like calling my kids the wrong name. But we have the receipts now. Katie Hobbs, her Secretary of State office, pressuring Twitter to delete tweets that she considered unflattering to her. That is now definite. We see that. We have the emails behind it. We see how she did it. And now we know, of course, that she threatened a lawsuit against counties that would not that ended up certifying the vote under duress. They said, we don't want to do this, but I'm not going to lose my house over this. This is crazy. We believe that this election should not be certified. We're the Board of Supervisors that are there precisely to make these determinations, and Katie Hobbs threatened to sue them into oblivion if they didn't certify. So she's been certified, as I understand it, as of today. Doug Ducey, the most shameless, pathetic rhino of a governor. I mean, he's basically Charlie Crist of Florida. I mean, Doug Ducey is a scumbag if ever there was one. He hates Republicans. He hates you and me. Can't say he wishes Democrats were his constituency, right? But up until at least they ended up selling their souls to Arizona Democratic Party, there was a sense you couldn't win statewide election as a Democrat. Now they're changing that. They're flipping that because they hate the MAGA crowd so much. So as I understand it, Kari Lake has a 5-day window to file an appeal, which she's doing, she said. And she can file an appeal to the courts and see if the certification can get overturned. Obviously, gang, that's not going to happen. I don't believe that's going to happen. It didn't happen in 2020. It's not going to happen here. Okay. What is exciting, in my view, when you're taking the long-term view in all this, what is exciting is that I believe Katie Hobbs and the McCainite Republican Party in Arizona have so thoroughly delegitimized the government and the state in the eyes of most Arizonians and most people across the country that it's only going to embolden us even more. And we're only going to grow, and we're only going to build a parallel economy at a faster rate. We're only going to, we know now, absolutely, we know they can only win if they cheat. We know that. It was so blatant. It was so in your face. We know that. So Kari Lake is doing a great job representing that sentiment, saying we all see it. I'm going to take it all the way to where legally I can go. And then I think she's going to be a fantastic representative of the new MAGA movement, the ultra MAGA movement, right along with President Trump and DeSantis and all these people. I just think that it was so utterly blatant, and now we have the receipts of the collusion with big tech, with Katie Hobbs, that all it can do is undermine the very power upon which, or that, yeah, the very power upon which they're clinging. So this is the problem and the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc and Europe found this out, is okay, you can crush populist uprisings, but every time you crush them, they get bigger, because more and more people see the deceit and the lies behind the quelling. And so the more you quell, just the bigger we grow. So you have to think of yourself as being in a kind of American version of Eastern Europe, right? 1970s Soviet Eastern Europe. You have to think of yourself in that way. and know that what we just led, what Kari Lake led, was an uprising that looked like it was going to win, and it should have won. But the powers that be, the Republicans and the Democrats in Arizona, colluded together to stop her from winning, and Blake Masters as well, Mark Fincham and others, to stop them from winning this time. They did it in 2020. They did it in 2022. Let's see you do it in 2024. Let's see you do it in 2026. We're going to keep coming back. And every time we come back, we get stronger and more powerful until the whole thing finally falls. And that's what they're doing. They're weakening the edifice of the castle they think they're occupying. So that's what I think was going on in Maricopa County.
Republicans have more power. Nancy Pelosi is out. Big things seem to be on the horizon. Carol Haynes wants to know, do you think the Republicans will stand strong and reverse those liberal policies or become wobbly again?
I'm not sure which liberal policies we're talking about. No, just because this is not going to be a legislative congressional session, because it's going to go nowhere with the Democrat Senate or even if we get Georgia and then say Manchin flips, I mean, you're going to still have a dementia Biden White House. So we're not going anywhere in terms of legislation. This is in effect a broken this divided government, which is good because it works the other way. They can't do anything either, and virtually all of Biden's EOs have been struck down by the courts. The courts have had this new birth of federalism, which is very, very impressive of late. And that federalism does not like EOs at all. They really demand that the president go through the legislative process. That's at least the way the Supreme Court has been deciding of late. And there's a book out on the renewed federalism of the Supreme Court, the Roberts Court, that even during when Kennedy was on there back in the 2000s. So what you're going to do is you're going to see really an oversight committee based Congress. This is going to be an investigative Congress, and it sounds to me, I think McCarthy has no choice if he wants to be speaker. He is going to have to placate the demands of the likes of Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jim Jordan, that we are going that they're going to start investigating Hunter Biden laptop. And of course, the key there is the big guy emails. The big guy emails are giving 10% of Hunter Biden's illicit business dealing to Joe Biden. That's the key. It has nothing to do with Hunter Biden's crack pipe. It has everything to do with the extent to which Sleepy Joe was actually profiting off of Hunter Biden's illicit activities. So they're going to go after that. They're going to go after Fauci, especially after the published deposition, where I think he said, I don't know, over 100 times. He clearly there's a smoking gun there in terms of what he knew about the Wuhan lab theory origins theory, and also what he knew about different options for dealing and mitigating the virus, and why he deliberately chose the Chinese lockdown option, which in the end destroyed our economy, destroyed so much of our education. A lot of good things came out of it, ironically, like a renewed understanding of what's actually being taught in the classroom. Parents actually were in the room listening to some of the crap that their kids were getting taught online, remotely. Suddenly said, what the heck? So homeschooling shot up 700% the number of areas throughout the country. Most interestingly, it was specifically in the Northeast, the most secular part of the country. So the biggest rise in homeschooling. So we're gonna be doing things like that from this point forward. And of course, the corruption of the FBI, that's gigantic. And then the collusion now, that what they're at least Kevin McCarthy's arguing, or Andy McCarthy's arguing, they're going to have to do with these revelations of the Twitter files. I mean, this is so blatant in terms of, the FBI having Hunter Biden's laptop for, I believe, up to a year. They knew it was authentic. They knew it was corroborated and absolutely genuine. And yet they pushed this notion of Russian disinformation. They telegraphed. They knew it was going to come out as an October surprise. They telegraphed it to Twitter and Facebook, as Mark Zuckerberg has affirmed, and as now the emails and internal documents have affirmed in Twitter. And then once the story broke in October from the New York Post, immediately, within literally minutes, immediately the story was squashed. It was crushed. New York Post was locked out of their account for 2 weeks. Even Kayleigh McEnany was locked out of her account. The then, White House press secretary, she was locked out of her account when she just committed the unpardonable sin of sharing the story. And then you had 50 former intelligence officials. Literally, it's almost like with a letter that was pre-written. It came out so fast. They all signed a letter testifying that they had determined to their expert judgment, that this laptop was Russian disinformation. The lamestream media ran with that without the slightest bit of skeptical inquiry into the veracity of that claim. We even know an FBI attorney who's behind fabricating the Russian collusion hoax was also advising Twitter to bury the story of Hunter's laptop. You cannot make this stuff up. All of these things are going to be investigated. They're all interconnected. And obviously that brings back, whether anybody likes it or not, as Trump made it clear the other night, that brings back the whole integrity of the 2020 election, because you have clear evidence now that an article, that a bombshell revelation that 16% of Biden voters said would have changed their vote had they known about it before November 3rd. This now is clearly a deep state, Democrat, big tech collusion to adversely affect and contaminate the integrity of a democratic presidential election. So it's all going to come out. We'll see how faithful they are, and but it looks like, I mean, with people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others, I think, yeah, we're certainly going to be told how well it's going and how faithful the powers that be are in these investigations.